Welcome, students, as we prepare for another episode of DC Graduates. I'm one of your teachers, your Dr. Recommend, the dose of nerdiness, aka your nerd today. And I am joined, as always, by my teacher in crime, Sly. How are you today?
I don't know a moment's peace, and I will work every day for what feels like eternity. But to counteract the gloom and doom of the real world, we're here to talk about cheerful, happy movies.
Yeah, the doom and gloom of alternate history 1985. That's right, today, because we are talking about Watchmen Chapter 1 and 2. These both released last year in 2024. And yeah, this is the, third adaptation? Technically second adaptation that we've seen. There was a motion comic, that's why I said third. I was like,
Yeah, there's
Pe-
like one and a half other projects, it feels like.
they have bled this Rosetta Stone dry this time.
Yeah.
Every time they go
There's a
to this,
lot. That's the point.
there's a lot. There's a lot that they try to do from this world, from one book in like 1986, 1987. They was like, nah, we're
Yeah.
gonna keep milking it 30 years later.
Mhm.
We'll come
Yeah,
back. Don't worry about
correct.
it. Every 10 years we'll do something afterwards. Uh but yeah, so Sly, this is an interesting one
Mhm,
because this is again another straight up adaptation. Similar to what
mhm.
we covered with like All-Star Superman and things like that. So what is your history?
Will cover.
We'll cover, yes,
Easter.
true. What's your what's your history with Watchmen the comic book series?
Uh, is this where I get us canceled?
Probably, yeah.
My history is not a fan, decidedly.
It's a
And
divisive
listen,
book.
you know what? Things aren't always for everyone, and this one is a not for me. I do not enjoy it particularly. Uh, so yeah, I haven't engaged much with the adaptations of it because I was like, I can't get through this. I hate everybody. I don't care about any of these storylines. Like none of this is doing it for me personally. Uh and so, I gave a a good faith effort to enjoy these and we'll see how that turned out.
Very fair, fair. Yeah, this is an interesting, character study into superheroics from Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons. Of course, if you look up anything, they won't mention Alan Moore's name because he's requested after so many times, just like, don't put my name on shit that you adapt. I don't care. I don't
Mhm.
care. I just don't care. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen is probably like the thing that broke him the most. That was like one of
Mhm.
the worst adaptations of
He
anything he's
actually
ever done.
stopped.
I don't know. For me, I like his adaptation. We'll talk about this one specifically later, but like I get it for coming from the author standpoint. Like I'm not happy with this, so don't
Mhm.
put my name on it. So I get
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Which is a
Hey,
shame
I
because I
didn't
don't know.
touch this. You're just using my
Yeah,
ideas. Like, don't. I don't claim this.
yeah. I think around that same time too, V for Vendetta was like another one that like he felt missed the
Mhm.
mark. I think it was a success though, like critically and I think commercially. I
Oh
think it
yeah,
did okay, but it was one of those things that
people
it just
liked it, but
yeah. I think it's
it
more like
just
a cult classic
spun out of
afterwards.
control.
Yeah, there's a
Mhm.
lot of them, unfortunately, especially with his stuff. He is very protective of his
Mhm.
IP, and if it's going to be used, he doesn't want his name on it at all because that was never his intended
Right.
purpose. He's also just,
Mhm.
God bless him. He's a batshit crazy old man. Like he really is, and
I listen. People are allowed to be
yeah,
batshit crazy old men.
yeah, he is my favorite thing of Alan Moore ever, ever. And this is I'm talking about
Mhm.
like outside of like his books and stuff like that, right? I'm a big fan of his books. Is his appearance in The Simpsons, where he makes fun of himself basically as at the same
Oh
time. I was like,
no.
you have a sense of humor, but you are also a
Mhm.
very bitter man. Like it's also,
Yeah.
and he also has a basis, right? Because
Uh-huh.
again, Watchmen, very seminal, very important piece of comic book history, and then
Mhm.
DC, of course, being the media machine there is with the backing of Warner Brother. Fuck Dave's ass off. Um, Not that they had any plans on movies before this and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Just wanted to let's keep tapping that well. Let's keep tapping on. Like that's not the point of the story. Um, I mean, famously they did. There was like a I don't know if it was before or after the Zack Snyder movie. Um,
Mhm.
there was a let's see the early years of the Minutemen or the Crime Busters, I believe they're called. So let's see early years of Dr. Manhattan, like that in between time that in between some of the flashbacks in like modern day, of the movie, part of the book. To see what's going on with Lori, let's go and see what's going on with Dan and Night Owl and stuff like that. So there's like some stuff there, and then famously, well, I don't know if you know this, and I guess we'll get into a little bit after, but there is
Mhm.
like a sequel. So there's a sequel TV show that
Mhm.
takes an idea left open at the end of the book and in this adaptation and completely like disregards it. Like because it could go one or two ways. You never know, right? It's very open
Right.
ended. And then it's a very good series from what I'm told. I've actually have never had the chance to sit down and just commit time to watch it. I mean, we have a
Right.
great outlet here in DC Graduates. Who knows in the future where that go? But it's on HBO Max. It's Watchmen and David Lindenwall. I think it's like 8 episodes. Only supposed to be 8 episodes, even though HBO is
Mhm.
like, "Yo, let's do more," and they were like, "No, that's not the point." Again, just like that, it's not the point.
Right.
But that's got like
Exactly.
critical history. But there is also a DC Comics pseudo sequel to this that we will touch
Mm.
upon at the end of all of this, which is going to be very interesting. It ties into a previous
Okay.
season of our show, which is going to be fun
Mhm.
to discuss. But yeah, my history, at least with the book itself, this was one of the books that brought me back into reading full time comic books like that.
Mhm.
Collected them as a kid. There's a big gap in between. It's just hard for me to get to a comic book shop and stuff like that. Once I got into high school, though, started buying some weekly series, and this was one of them that I was like, everyone talks about this. I've heard about it my whole life. I gotta get it. I got it, and it took me like a couple reads. I finally fully comprehended it. I think being 15, 16, reading this,
Mhm.
some of it sticks
You think
out.
you know everything,
Yeah, you
and you
don't.
think you get it, and you just don't, and that's okay. Like, thinking you get it and believing with your full chest
Hmm.
that you totally understand the themes of a work is important. That's like critical development
Yeah,
stages.
a hundred
Like,
percent.
it's okay. If you are a teen, first of all, weird. But second of all,
True.
if you think you know everything and you understand an author and you're like, "I fully get all the themes and messages in this work," that's okay. Believe that.
Yeah,
Get keep that faith in yourself. But also you're probably wrong, and that's
yeah,
okay. We're all
yeah.
wrong. We're all
Reread
wrong
it in a
about
couple
something.
of years and then pick up on it.
Right. See
Especially with
what you
Alan
get
Moore.
out of it.
Yeah, Alan Moore, Grant
Mhm,
Morrison, these guys are like very heavy, with their subtext and stuff like that. And
mhm.
again, teenage me loved Rorschach. Adult me is like,
Yeah.
I don't know, man, this guy's wrong. Everything is so gray and bleak in this. And not it's not only just the characters, like we have very few morally good characters in this story. And we have very few
I would
hopeful
argue there are
moments.
no more.
The closest we probably get is Hollis Mason, and we see what happens to him,
Yeah, uh-huh.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
And or maybe Dan, but even the decision Dan makes at the end of the movie is very like there's so much there, right? It is a very, I think,
Mhm.
adult book. I think, if you can read again, you can read it as a teenager, and I think you'll get a lot out of it. But I think when you're an adult, like fully formed adult, like and you read it, you're like, oh wow,
Mhm.
this is like heavy.
Mhm.
And I totally understand when people like yourself, like I'm not a fan. Like I get it. It's so dark.
Here's
It's
the thing,
so
it's like when we're talking critically about media, which is
Mhm.
what we're doing here on this podcast, which is such a silly sentence. There is a difference between recognizing quality work
Mm.
and liking something. And I can recognize that this is a technically sound quality work that I hate.
Yeah, yeah,
Hate's the strong word. I don't like it. It's
yeah,
not for me. And that's okay. Again, not
yeah.
everything has to be for you. I can say this is a good book that I will never finish because I absolutely loathe every single character. Like, there is maybe one compelling character, and we'll see what happens to them.
Exactly.
And that's just not what I wanna read. I wanna like the characters, I wanna connect to them. I wanna engage with characters that I can see myself in. And this is
Mhm.
just, like, grim, dark, gritty, like the, like the '80s version of the worst timeline has never connected to me. Like, my, like,
Mhm.
first formative memory is 9/11. Anything in the Cold War that they thought could be, like, the worst thing just doesn't compare.
Yeah,
It's
that's
been
fair.
I'm so tired of living through unprecedented times, but my
Yeah, me too,
entire
bro.
life has been unprecedented times.
Yeah, yours is
And
worse
it's
because it's
not
from jump,
stopping anytime.
you know?
Right, from jump. Like, it's been bad the entire time, and I just, like, cannot in any way reconcile the fact that, like, especially Cold War, like, Red Scare era fear-mongering will never click to me because I've seen and lived through 10 times worth from day one.
Yeah.
And I just like in like 1984, technically sound novel, revolutionary at its time. I have lived through so much worse than that novel. Why do I care about that novel? It's not saying anything compelling about my current lived
Yeah.
experience.
And the people who should
So
be, like, picking something from it are the people who are probably
we're
making the
perpetuating
decisions
it
that are
or
doing something bad.
huge fans of it
Yeah.
and don't get the commentary. That's the other thing. There are so many awful people who are huge fans of this work. And I'm like, you don't get the point, and you're
Yeah.
weaponizing this to prove your point. And that's not a knock on the work, that's a knock on the American public education system.
No, because those people are the people who, like, idolize Rorschach, and that's
Yeah,
that's a problem. Like, that's a huge
that's a
red flag.
big problem.
Yeah. And, like, I think there are so many compelling characters, and, again, the narrative is very dark, very bleak. Um, there's not a hopeful moment, in this goddamn story.
Right.
I enjoy it, but again, as a teenager, I'm like, "Oh, Rorschach's pretty cool," and it's like, "No, he's not, though, like, he really isn't, he's very, like" I mean, we'll get into it more, but, like, he's very, like, he's not the person you're supposed to look at. He's a very compelling character, he's really cool, and, like, Jackie
Mhm,
Earle Haley in the Zack Snyder movie did an incredible job portraying him. Titus
mhm.
Weaver did a amazing job portraying him in this adaptation as well. It's just, like, he's not a shining beacon of someone you should be looking for,
Mhm.
to
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
and those people tend to, which is very unfortunate. So,
correct.
that's book-wise. So, was this your first time watching the movie, right? This is I believe, our first time, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I had previously saved it for when we had the grand plan that we would cover them as they came out. That didn't happen.
No.
That's
Now
fine, we can do it now.
now it's perfect. Man, Nightfall comes out, we're gonna cover all 4 of those movies as they release. Last week and this week
Fun
are, like, the earliest we're
times.
getting to stuff now, like, new stuff.
Uh-huh.
But yeah.
Yeah, no, we tried so hard to get the, Batman and Azteca episode out on time.
Yeah.
It was
Hey,
close enough.
it's close enough, that's all that matters. Close
We
enough is all
tried.
that matters. Still in the zeitgeist. Still in the
Mhm,
zeitgeist.
mhm, correct.
But this movie is directed by Brandon Vetti and Venton Hyuk. I believe I typed that right.
Yuck.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah. Written by or you can say adapted by the great J. Michael Straczynski. Um, this goes to Logan. Logan, if you're watching this episode,
Mhm.
comment down below your favorite J. Michael Straczynski comic book moment, and then comment your worst. Because I can tell you one of the worst is when Gwen Stacy came back from the dead, or you found out that Norman Osborn hooked up with her. That's not a good thing. Ooh, Michael Straczynski. Ooh. uh,
Boo.
not good. But the studios for this film is WB Animation, which had a really cool
Mhm,
80s intro, which I loved
mhm.
immensely.
Yeah, the intros were very cool.
Yeah, and I always forget because this is a weird rights issue with Watchmen specifically. Paramount Pictures.
Mhm.
Who knows? One day down the
Yeah.
line, it might just be Paramount Pictures if that other merger goes through. God forbid. Uh, but this movie stars
Yeah.
Troy Baker, Adrian Barbaro, Michael
Severus?
Severus, yeah, Jeffrey
Right?
Coombs, Kelly Hu, Phil Lamar, Yuri Lowenthal, Jeff Pearson,
My
Matthew,
man.
yeah, Matthew Rice, Katie Sackhoff, Carrie Walgren, sorry, Rick D. Wasserman, Titus Welver, and Phil Fondacaro. This is streaming on HBO Max, both parts, so you are good to go
Mhm.
see that. Still good.
For
Fuck David
once.
Zaslav.
Correct.
Yeah, of course. Watchmen's the thing, of course, right? That's the
Yeah.
thing that's on there.
Obviously.
Not some
Yeah.
random Superman movie, God forbid.
Uh-huh.
All right.
God forbid.
All right, Sly, hit us with chapter one's plot recap and then chapter two.
All right. These fucking movies. In an alternate world history shaped by superheroes, once celebrated costumed adventurers have been banned by a society disenchanted with vigilantism. Now, in 1985, the murder of hero turned government operative. That's a whole other problem we'll talk about. The comedian
Big problem.
draws the attention of Rorschach, the last of the outlawed vigilantes. Rorschach's investigation embroils his retired colleagues. Night Owl, Silk Spectre, Dr. Manhattan, and Ozymandias in conflict with their path, with each other, and in a mystery that threatens their lives and a world on the brink of war.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
This is anonymous that
That is the
provided this.
summary.
That is the
Thank you,
summary.
Anonymous. Yeah.
Yeah. If you hit us
One
with
of the better ones, I might say.
honestly, yeah, it's pretty good. I almost thought for a second if the
Uh-huh.
Warner Brothers one wasn't right above it, I was like, oh wait, is this Warner
Uh-huh.
Brothers?
No, WB doesn't get that hard.
No, absolutely not. All right, so hit us with chapter two.
All right. Continues the investigation into the murder of a former superhero, with retired heroes grappling with personal demons and a society turned against them. Rorschach, imprisoned for his actions, pursues the truth. That's one word for it. Uncovering a conspiracy that could trigger global nuclear war. The heroes race against time to find Adrian Veidt.
Yeah, like Veet.
Veet? Okay. A former colleague who may hold the key to stopping the impending catastrophe. As they confront their past and the threat of annihilation, the film explores the complexities of morality and the impact of superheroes on society. It sure tries.
Yep. That's all right. Hit us with those comic book characters.
All right. We have and let me be clear. There are some characters here that have gone on to be very popular. And almost all of these are originals per this book, which is cool. It's nice to have a fresh take. And I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, that they had written the story like an outline with characters from somebody they had recently bought, and then just came up with new characters for it.
Yeah, so they're
again,
one for one.
I love original characters. That's exciting.
Yeah, they're supposed to be the
We'll see some of
Charlton
them in,
characters.
yeah.
So like Dr. Manhattan is Captain Adam. Rorschach
Okay.
is the Question. Night Owl's the
Right.
Beetle.
Yeah. So parallel. Well, speaking of character, Dr. Manhattan, Rorschach, Night Owl, 1 and 2, the comedian, Silk Spectre, 1 and 2, Moloch,
Yep.
and Ozymandias. Moloch. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Tag yourself. Who's your favorite character of these?
Night Owl 2 will have to
Oh,
be.
really?
Yeah.
Night Owl 1 was my favorite.
It's like 1 and 2 are my favorites. Just Hollis Mason is truly like a good person and is very flawed, very realistically captured world. You know, like when the with what they're called, the Minutemen, when the
Uh-huh.
Minutemen are introduced, they're introduced in what, 1950s, right? Or so, like 40s?
Also, shout out to the, uh, I think I wanna say mid to late aughts DC Channel original movie, The Minutemen.
Oh,
Isn't that what that was called?
I think so. Yeah, I think that was.
The
Yeah.
one with the white suits and the green cover. Y'all know
Yeah.
what I'm talking about.
Yes.
What's his face was the main dude. Anyway, sorry,
Yeah.
you were
No.
saying.
No, I do like that. Unfortunately, like similar to like kind of last week when we were talking to Logan, and like he was talking about one of his favorite things recently with Jay Garrick in lore was like Alan Scott being afraid to come out and all this other stuff. They're
Mhm,
dealing with the World War II era stuff, and Jay Garrick saves him and all this stuff because he's like, "Oh, you're my teammate. I don't care if you're gay, or whatever. You're my best friend."
mhm,
And like it's a beautiful moment. It's a very hopeful, 2025 outlook on stuff. Unfortunately,
mhm,
Alan Moore being a very, very much a realist. How's
mhm.
uh Mason is he is a very kind, nice man, but like in a very horrible time in society. Like we
Yeah.
see something the comedian does at one point, which I think the comedian comes up from. I mean, we don't know much of his backstory. I'm not even going to talk about like the prequel books or anything, but like obviously comes from a very failed society where he thinks everything is a joke. So he does something. He attempts something horrible. Thank God for Hooded Justice stops him.
Okay,
Yeah,
here's the thing.
yeah,
I would argue everything that man does is horrible,
true.
and so the fact that we're trying to paint this story as if this is the only reproachable, like morally apprehensible thing this man has ever done is so laughable to me. Because what do you mean? Like, that's the only problem you have with this man. And
Yeah.
especially in the age of the fucking, not to date ourselves, the fucking Golden Knights signing a very clearly
Oh yeah.
horrible piece of shit human being and paying him lots of money after being an absolutely horrible piece of shit human. Obviously, we haven't moved past the fact that we can forgive that.
Yeah.
Like, we can forgive the atrocity, but we're acting like that's the only thing that might convince you that this guy isn't the best guy around, isn't your buddy old pal. Everything he does is awful. I can't fucking
Everything.
stand that
Yeah,
man.
anytime they show a flashback to any one of the, the crime busters time with him or even the
Mhm.
Minutemen, like it is horrible. Like it is legitimately
Yeah.
horrible. Like his attack on Sally is horrible. Him even at that point with Hooded Justice, like when he kicks him off, like
Mhm.
he's not reprehensible to his actions until like later on, until something else
Mhm.
happens that we'll touch upon. Like
Right.
when that reveal happens, you see it through her lens, and you see like it looked like he was trying, but even then, in Vietnam, he horribly murders that woman who, for a
Mhm.
fact. I mean, the subtext is there, but like that's his baby.
Mhm.
That's his
Yeah.
baby. He killed
Mhm.
two things at once, and then blames Dr. Manhattan, which
Mhm.
he's also to blame
Right.
because he has all this unlimited power. And he goes, "You could have stopped the bullet. You could have disintegrated the bullet. You could have made my gun a banana. You could have done all this stuff.
Mhm.
You're just as fault as I am." And
Dr. Manhattan is so interesting because that is a
yeah,
man plagued by a tragic moment who
mm,
has then convinced himself that he is unable to change destiny or like
yeah,
change the predetermined event. And he absolutely could, but he has convinced himself that he can't, which makes him the not a hero because he
yeah,
is actively ignoring the fact that he could change things
yeah,
because he's too stuck in what he
yeah,
sees.
yeah. He's looking for something that he feels like he can't find, so there's no reason to do
Mhm.
anything until
Right.
well, we're being around the bush here, but until Lori
Mhm.
um comes to the realization that the comedian's her father, and not because of an
Right.
event like that, because of her mother seeking him out and having a
Yeah.
romantic affair with
Actively
him.
making a choice.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
make the choice, and out of this horrible thing that it started horribly, then weirdly
Mhm.
enough, this beautiful thing is made out of it.
Mhm.
That's when he comes to his senses, but of course it's too late because of the
Mhm.
actions of, you know,
Right.
listen, if you somehow are
Everybody around them.
listen, if you somehow have gotten here and you've never seen Watchmen at all or read it, please do me a favor. Pause this video. Watch it. Watch something. Watch the Zack Snyder version. Watch this movie. No, I'd rather you watch this movie.
Read a
The-
plot summary.
Read the book. Something.
See how you feel. Read a summary. See how you feel about it. Then engage with the medium of your choice.
Read the
Because
content
we're
warnings.
beating around so many bullshit.
Yeah,
Read all of the content warnings.
there's a
They
lot of
are
them.
very plentiful and
Yeah.
very abundant.
You know how we joke around about like, book talk girlies and they're like, it's a menu. Like, this is not a menu. These are content warnings. These are no, that's not what this book is, It's
Yeah.
but it's too
It's
late.
not written to be a menu. Sometimes that's the vibe. No disrespect to that.
Not
If
here.
that's what you're into, that's what you're into. But this is just, it is not written to be enjoyed.
No, it really isn't. And yeah, it's too late for John, for Dr. Manhattan. Once he finally finds the thing he's been looking for desperately and breaks away from his like secular like way of thinking, he's like, oh wait, oh yeah, I can make it. Shit, it's too late. It's too late for everyone. Like, which is one of
Yeah.
the best moments of this book and the best moment in probably almost all of comics. Like, it's top 10 for me. It's one of the coolest things that has ever been done by a villain. It's like, holy shit, I've never experienced this. Like, even I think as a teenager, it hit so hard, and every time that moment happens in every adaptation I've seen, it always hits for me. I'm like, said about it, whoever's performing that scene always kills it at that time, and Troy Baker did an amazing job.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a roundabout way to say Night Out and Night 1 and 2 are probably in our picks are like the only good people. So the best, our favorite characters, because no one.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Night Owl 2 has his moments that I'm like,
Yeah.
You are obviously written by a man.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah.
There's a bit of saviorism happening right now, and it is not a good look for you, buddy.
No. No, funny enough, I think though Dan being the character that he is, if he were to like read his story, be like, "Oh, that's weird." Like I don't know why.
Right,
Like
yeah.
in hindsight,
No,
like, "Oh shit, that was weird."
Yeah, I think the character, if reading that out of context, would recognize that it was a weird thing.
Yeah.
But in the moment, people are flawed. They
Yeah.
make weird choices. It happens.
Yeah. Who would you say, I guess, other than the comedian, who's the worst character? Yeah. The most irreprehensible.
Okay. I think the problem is the comedian is the worst character, the most horrible character. However, the way people feel about Rorschach makes him very up there, because the amount of people who completely miss the point of his character, and it's blunt, it's obvious, it is clearly stated, it is in the text. It doesn't even take an ounce of extrapolation. It is clear as day on the page that is a shitty dude making shitty choices and shitty decisions, and people venerate him in a way that absolutely appalls me. I don't understand how you can miss the point that badly, and that's not necessarily the character's fault, but it does greatly color how I feel about it.
Yeah. It's funny because the only thing I can think of, right? Because for an actor like, let's say, Titus in this film and like Jackie Earle Haley in the Zack Snyder film, right? That has to be like a very satisfying character to sink your teeth in, right? And like kind of portray and do all this stuff and really like
Fascinating character to act out.
The issue becomes that not everyone is understanding what the purpose of that character, like you mentioned. Like I feel like as an actor, like Titus and Jackie Kid is especially portraying that character for these 3 hours that we see them, right? And however long it took them to record and act out all these scenes and really like Jackie Earle Haley's in the suit, all this stuff. There has to be like some kind of weird attachment that you have to this character because those two really embody that character so well. But it's such a bad character, right? Like not written, but like he's just so bad because there's so many things, right? Like these are supposed to be like a satire, not a well, it's supposed to be like a satire, a look at superhero
Mhm.
comics at the time and stuff, and
Yeah.
where they were going at that time. It's like an allegory to like just the '80s in general and what was happening,
Mhm.
but because of that, and because he's not the question, he can do
Right.
stuff. Alan Moore can write him in a certain way that he does stuff that are not heroic, even though in this world
Uh-huh.
it is because it's so bad. This world in general is just bad. But
Yeah.
can you
And the
imagine if this
problem
was a
is,
question?
well, here's the thing. I like the
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, right. So like if you can imagine this as the question, and like let's just
I don't
switch
think
that
the
character
question
out.
would make those
No,
choices.
no, I think he would
That's
still
the problem.
investigate the death of the comedian.
Yeah.
And I think there would be some
Mhm.
weird respect, not because he's only because he's a hero, quote unquote, in the sense,
Right.
right? But
Yeah.
only maybe not even then, only because a man died, and that would
Right.
be like, no,
He's
we need to
intrigued
figure it
by the
out.
mystery. That
Yeah,
is his driving goal. He doesn't care necessarily about the man.
yeah,
He wants to solve this quandary. Uh yeah, my problem with the world, the setting, it is very grimdark. It is very 80s inspired. But like I said, it's nothing compared to what we're living through now. Absolutely nothing. I was like, damn,
I saw
this
that note. Yeah,
actually could
I agree.
be, an optimistic view of if it was written now, this would be the optimistic take
Yeah,
on the state of the world. And that's a really hard thing to grapple with for me personally, to look at this awful, horrible, grim, dark place and be like, could be worse.
it's crazy. It is insane too, right? And one of the other things that intrigues me about this, right, and especially when you get to the context of where we are in this world right now, currently living in, right, is that Adrian's plan throughout the whole film. We're gonna spoil it just because it's hard to not spoil the film. Like
Right.
at this point, it's so hard to talk about these points. That's why I said watch this, read it, whatever you need to do to understand. But
Mhm.
Adrian, his whole plan to unite the world is a very fascinating thing, and I think it's something so many people have thought of. Right, like if you watch a film like
It's very Lex Luthor. If
yeah,
I
yeah,
control the world will be better because I will be making
yeah.
every decision.
And to have something so he literally takes something so extraterrestrial,
Yeah.
looking and like what the
Crafts
impact
it.
of the
Yeah.
crafts it as like this boogeyman that can unite the world. It
Uh-huh.
reminds me of
And it
films like
works.
it works, yeah. It reminds me of films like Independence, Day, which is a dumb movie to kind of
Uh-huh.
introduce here, but like
No, I
th-
get it. I
yeah,
follow.
that's a film in the 1990s as everything that's happened in our world to that date happens, right?
Uh-huh.
Kuwait happened, the beginning of the Middle East, skirmish already
Mhm.
happened, Nam happened, all this stuff happens in the world up to the point where these aliens from space come out of nowhere, attack on the 4th of July, and they unite the entire world. The
Yeah.
entire world. When we see the sequel, which is not good, do not watch the sequel. It is very bad.
Doesn't exist.
Yeah. Um, that is a world 20, 30 years later that is united because of this alien threat
Mhm.
that happened. And
Right.
it's peaceful. Like everyone's working together, like to stop this further threat of aliens just in case they ever come back. There's no more war between each other. There are discussions and all this stuff is like Adrian's idea, or I guess Alan Moore in retrospect coming up with this is
Mhm.
sadly not wrong. And sadly, something like this is like the only way I think, unfortunately, the world will come together. But I don't want that to happen. That's not a good plan. I don't want some blonde haired white
Mhm.
dude, being like, let me orchestrate something. We already have an orange dude with weird makeup that could destroy the world
Uh-huh.
at any moment. Like, I do
Yeah. We don't
not
need
want that.
another one.
That dude's worse than Nixon. And Nixon's like on his third term in this story. Like they don't talk about it in
Uh-huh.
the animated movie, but I think in the comic he's like third or fourth term. Like that's scary enough.
Yeah. That's gonna be us in 2028. It's
Oh man,
fine.
I'm worried. Yeah. But that is it it's an interesting thing. So Adrian's idea to unite the world
Mhm.
is such an interesting concept. And in this grimdark world and how he achieves it is horrifyingly
Yeah.
like
And I feel like it's accurate to how people would go about this.
Yeah.
However, I so struggle with the idea that an extraterrestrial threat will come to Earth and will unite the entire planet, because the amount of large-scale global threats that are currently happening
True.
that could be uniting the world is actually dividing us even further, because people just really gotta play both sides. Let me
Yeah.
tell you something. Neutrality, objectivity, truth does not mean examining a faith argument equally with a good faith argument.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how that works. The only way to be neutral, objective, and honest in your reporting is to only give space to good faith, credible argument. There could be
No.
differences of opinion, but when you are allowing light to be shed on bad faith arguments and spending time on that in the name of objectivity, I fear we have lost the entire plot.
Yeah. No.
It
It's
absolutely entirely. And especially with how we are responding to global threats. Russia is still very much into Ukraine.
yeah.
We're
No.
not talking about that.
Yeah. Also,
This
Russia's the
conflict
threat
has been
in
going on for
1985. It's still the problem.
decades. They have been arguing over that strip of sea for decades, to the point where it's a major conflict in stories for multiple decades. And it's still a problem. And that is, not uniting us at
No,
all.
unfortunately, no. Yeah.
And so, like, the idea that an alien's gonna come in and attack New York and it's gonna magically fix like everything is so absurd, because we live in a time where something not alien, mind you, attacks New York and it unites a very specific group of people, and
Mm-hmm.
we act like everybody's united while absolutely terrorizing the other group. It's like the idea that this, you know, picture perfect white man was like, you know how I'm gonna solve this? I'm gonna unite the world by creating even more conflict to rally against. I see how he got there.
Yeah.
I see how he got there. Would it work? No. No,
Yeah.
it would not. It simply would not.
Also, love feats co-opting like Egyptian culture. I don't know why. That always cracks me up, especially in this specific, like, I guess because it's voiced so eloquently by Troy Baker in this version. But like hearing
Right.
Adrian go about like why all the Egyptian imagery and stuff, like, God, he sounds so
Mhm.
insufferable. Like, I understand why
Yeah.
Rorschach's like, this guy's a dick. Like, I don't like
Yeah.
this guy at all.
Unfortunately, I agree with Rorschach. That guy is a dick.
Listen, man, broken
Fuck
clock's
you
right twice
too.
a day. You know?
Exactly, exactly. I feel like this episode has mostly been me going on woke tangents and you being like, let's talk about the actual plot of the
No, no, because
movie.
no, it's important because this is, I mean, this is again one of the most seminal stories, right? And this is, for the most
Mhm.
part, a one for one adaptation. Like this is,
Yeah.
yeah. Only thing I equated to is the recent How to Train Your Dragon is literally like a one for one, like live
Uh-huh.
action to
Yeah.
animation. Mine is like maybe a minute of like extra scenes where they establish there's other cultures that like converged in Burke. Like, okay, cool. But other than that, like,
Cool.
and it's really
Mhm.
one for the animated film. They're both amazing. But like this is basically one for one. So this is like our really truly only time. It's similar to maybe next week's episode when we talk about All Star
Mhm.
Superman, to kind of analyze the book and the media we watch. You know, and we're kind of talking about in this episode
Uh-huh.
because again, this is for so many people the greatest superhero story of all time. This is one of the ones that shared, like, gave quote unquote credibility, right, to mainstream audiences for
Yes.
comic books, right?
100%. This is
Um,
one of the first major breakout stories that people gave a stamp of credibility to comic books as quote unquote real storytelling,
Yeah.
which is unfortunate that it took that long.
Yeah.
And unfortunate to me personally that it was the story.
I'm sure
But we
Alan
can't
Moore would
deny
feel the
that
same
that's
though, right? Because like,
yeah,
how many books did he write beforehand, and like even just single
right.
issues, and how many times we talked about Swamp Thing alone is one of the
Mhm.
greatest things he's ever
Fucking
written,
love stuff.
and he gets credit from us, but like major
Uh-huh.
media doesn't like credit him with like, oh my god, it's your
Right.
Swamp Thing and talking about like this and that, and he's so trippy and all this other
Mhm.
stuff. It's like, oh, let's analyze culture and superhero media, like, and it hits, and it's great for the media, but
Mhm. But,
again,
like,
Alan
the
Moore,
fact that
you know,
the things that did get the stamp of approval are Watchmen, are V for Vendetta. What
yeah,
does that say about our opinions as a society on what
mm,
makes good storytelling?
yeah,
Kinda
right.
grim.
Yeah, kind of grim. Let's look into ourselves. Hey, we're not as perfect as we think we are. V
Uh-huh.
for Vendetta specifically, there's a lot of terrorism stuff in there, of course. Guy Fawkes, Max.
Yeah.
Um, it's an interesting story, and I don't think it's wrong to talk about like the themes here because this is a one for one for the most part of the
Mhm.
book. So this is a perfect time to sit down and like let's talk about the themes because it's insane.
Mhm.
I mean, we can get to the fun stuff about it, and like the 3D art maybe that wasn't the best. I thought that was a choice. I thought it was a
I
weird
kinda
choice.
liked it.
I thought it was a weird choice
I
until
don't know
Dr.
if it was
Manhattan showed up.
good.
I was like,
Right,
"Oh, he
yeah,
looks good,"
uh-huh.
but that's it.
She looks great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, my biggest problem with this story
Mm,
is the character that I find compelling. Characters, if we're being generous,
mm.
get so much less time than everybody else, and I have to wade through all of these people that I find morally reprehensible and completely insufferable to get like 2 ounces of glowing joy out of the story, and that's just not a good ratio for me.
You're right.
And if you get a lot more glimmers of joy out of the story, I love that for you. Genuinely, I'm so
Mhm.
happy that there are people who like this story that can talk critically about it. I'm your number one fan. I personally, I can't do it. I'm not God's strongest warrior. I can't be fighting that fight.
Yeah, don't give me this battle. Don't do that.
It cannot be my battle. But again, it is a gorgeous adaptation. It is a gorgeously drawn story.
Mhm.
It is, capital A art, and I will give it that. Again, I don't have to love it to recognize that it is a very strongly written story. Even if I fucking hate all of the characters, they're well developed and they are well fleshed out.
Mhm.
And it is beautifully drawn and it fits the tone of the story they're trying to tell. It is overall an excellent I didn't finish the book, but I would say it's an excellent adaptation and it's an excellent movie in general as well. I feel like
Yeah.
it stands alone just fine. And I feel like I'm being such a hater. I really hope you have good things to say
No, I
about
mean,
this.
this is actually one of my favorite stories, and that's like kind of earlier what I was talking about.
Hell
Like as
yeah.
a
I'm so
teenager,
glad
like
about that.
reading Rorschach, like Rorschach's cool, and like this, he has cool moments. Like the whole jail thing is cool.
Uh-huh.
He's like, I know, I'm not stuck in here with you guys. You're stuck in here with me.
You're
Like
stuck in
that
here
shit
with
is
me. Yeah.
badass. I'm not gonna lie.
Iconic
Every time,
line. Yeah.
yeah. And then how he takes the the smaller fellow, how he takes all him and his men out in prison and stuff. Like that's
Oh,
again, there's cool
yeah.
moments with him. But like when you look at Rorschach, he's just so messed up, and he's so like you should not take any moral compass from him, right? Because he talks about like
Oh,
when he sees Lori, right, and he goes, "Oh," he's like, "Dan, nice to see you in suit, Lori. I always hated that suit." Like they cut some stuff out. He basically calls her a whore for being in that
yeah.
suit. Like he's very like he is what like a lens to right wing.
Mommy issues up the
Oh my god,
wazoo.
yeah, they only touch upon that in this. There's like full like pages worth of that stuff in the book.
Yeah.
Um, but he is the right wing ideal You know, when it's almost like when right wing people are like, "I love Punisher." Like, no, the fuck you don't. Like, you're not supposed to.
You think you love Punisher?
Yeah, he does not love
Punisher
you.
doesn't like you. Yeah,
And no offense,
exactly.
he don't like left people either. He don't like anybody, right? That's this thing. Like,
No.
you shouldn't be like, oh yeah, this Punisher. Like, nope, no. No, he's a lens to in which you see that the system is flawed, right? And Rorschach
Yeah.
does a little bit of that, but like he goes to the extreme and he's very like he talks about like, oh, comedian was a hero, comedian this, comedian that. Like he talks about him in such reverence. I was like,
But
oh, or they were fighting, they were fighting a war, they were doing this, and like he can't see.
and
Yeah.
that line specifically, especially about fighting a war, given with what we know,
And what war it was,
with
yeah.
the perception of what it meant to be fighting the Vietnam War. First of all, so many of those folks were drafted. Second of all, most of the country was actively protesting our involvement in that country at
Hmm.
that time. And then all of these people came back who had been told for years on end that they were the hero, they were right, and America was going to celebrate their greatness for doing all of these
Yeah.
horrible, fucked up shit to, women and children. And then they come back and everybody hates them for doing horrible, fucked up shit.
What they were told to.
What they were told to do.
And
And
they don't
listen,
even get benefits, they don't get
I'm not
anything.
excusing yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not excusing doing horrible, fucked up shit just because you were following orders. But when everybody was around you saying that this was the right thing, and you are fully entrenched in the ideology that you are the moral compass of what is right and good, and you are following the orders of the people you believe are right and good, and then you come back and don't get support, don't get appreciation, are actively looked down on, and the system absolutely discards you. Like,
Dude.
sure, we could say, hey, these people kind of fucked up. Also, every point in the story have you been failed
Mhm.
by, I'll say it, the government.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. At every turn, these poor men and women,
Every
like
single turn. Yeah.
it's a shame. It's absolutely shame. And then like they use that, Alan Moore does a great job of using that conflict to kind of show you how morally corrupt the comedian is, right? Like he goes in there
Uh-huh.
and
He's just been so conditioned that that is a normal and acceptable way
yeah.
to act and feel about humans.
And shit, even then he's almost broken, right? At the end, he's like, I
Yeah,
can't wait to even the comedian who is this like
yeah,
horrible character is like, I can't wait to go home. I'm sick and tired of smelling burning flesh, children,
yeah.
and stuff. And then he does one horrible thing at the very end and gets away with it. It's just so morally corrupt. And he's
Like, I
just
want to be on your side because you are being absolutely failed by the system. But while
yeah,
you are being failed by the system, you are being even more of a piece of shit. And I
yeah.
just can't endorse that.
Yeah, and this is where like the grim dark stuff happens because like he sees everything, the world, his life, everything about him is like a joke, and like that's he's
Ugh,
like he's the only one in on it. Like
this
that's why he's
cosmic irony.
yeah. So it's like it's almost like if you try to make Joker a hero, and it's like no, like, it
Yeah,
does not
exactly.
work.
That is perfect
Mm.
comparison.
And I do love that this adaptation, um, doesn't shy away from again stuff they could have changed because of source material, but they make a note of like when what's her name? Dr. Mahan's previous love is like his previous wife.
Uh-huh.
When they talk and she sees Silk Spectre 2, Laurie, for the first time. And then they hook up like pretty much right away. She's
Mhm.
16.
Yeah,
They don't hide
correct.
from that. They mention it.
Uh-huh.
They don't like shy away
That
from
is a
that line drop.
literal child. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then she's already been co-opted for like there's so many things you like Alan is touching upon and he's doing it again, mileage may vary because of again it's a very dark story, but he's touching on so many things where everyone talks about like a jack of all trades, master of none. He's mastering all these weird
Mhm.
complex storylines and he's trying to touch upon like how bad and how we view stuff, the McCarthyism of it all, and
Mhm.
Laurie from jump, like, when Hollis is getting letters from Sally, right? He's like, "Oh, I
Mhm.
got a kid I'm helping. His name's Dan." He's like, "He's perfect. I think he's gonna take over for the thing." And she sends him letters saying, "Oh, excuse me, I think when Laurie gets oh, I'm gonna like have her go into superheroes." Like she said something as a kid one time.
Yeah.
It was like, "Oh, I'm gonna have her be a superhero," and then she pushes her, pushes her, pushes her. You have to
Yeah.
dress like this. You have to
That's
dress
the
sexy. You
only
have to do
path.
this. She doesn't want to dress like that. She doesn't want to dress sexy. She makes a joke at the end. Is like,
No.
"Can I wear something a little more,
Yeah,
covering that could
I
protect
think I
me?"
wanna change the costume or
Yeah.
whatever.
Of course, it
Yeah.
goes to like what her
Um,
father would wear. I'm like, this is weird. Don't like that. But
yeah. I
but
also think
she's
that's such an
sexualized so
interesting
young.
parallel. Yeah, the way they play her parallel with Dr. Manhattan
Yeah.
and also being like parent forcing you into this path leading to superheroism, and like how they both feel about the act of superheroing is so interesting. It's
Yeah.
like both in and out of that relationship. And do I think they're a fucked up couple? Yeah. That nothing about that works for
No.
either of them. But a lot of people stay a long time in relationships that aren't serving them.
That's true.
So,
That's very true. And then he's so detached from humanity, right, Dr. Manhattan,
yeah.
that like he can't even bother to be there in an intimate moment with her.
Yeah.
And he's just going with the flow. He's like, "Oh, I thought this would be fun, I guess, for you." And he's like, he's losing his
Uh-huh.
humanity at every minute
Yeah.
of the time, right? And this is before his full break from humanity, right? When she leaves
Uh-huh.
and the whole cancer scare thing happens and he breaks and he's just on Mars. And at first I wrote one of my notes was like, I don't know if they're gonna nail this. Like the it's a very
Mhm.
iconic like couple pages, like 9 panel pages, where it's like it's this time I'm here, this time I'm here, this time I'm here. Because he sees
Mhm.
time at one single go. He sees it everywhere,
Right.
right? He's constantly, I'm when I died, I'm here on Mars, I'm making love to my first wife, I'm over here fighting in Vietnam,
Mhm.
all at one moment.
Mhm.
And it's beautifully
I
drawn
think it
and
was done
written.
very well for
Yeah, at first I was worried, and then by as soon as it kept going, I loved how it
Mhm.
transitioned with the atoms to
Mhm.
show time passing, and then or Dr. Manhattan was standing there in, like, the bar, and then his like, John
And
walked
then the
in and
scene
took
would
over.
change. Yeah.
Yeah, and it
Mhm.
took over and it kept walking. I was like, "Wow, they really did a great job of this," and really nailed it, like,
Yeah.
his mind I don't wanna say fracturing 'cause he's it's not fracturing, he just sees
Mhm.
everything so differently.
Disintegrating. Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like an inverse of maybe next week's episode of how Superman sees at the end of the movie, right? How
Yeah.
he sees everything all at once, like that he sees everything all at once, but like in a negative way almost. He's like so
Yeah.
cold and motion and emotionless.
So disillusioned
Yeah.
and detached
Again, it's
from
not to that
everything.
moment with Lori where she comes to realization that the comedian is her father. And
Mhm.
he sees like this like out of everything that could have happened, all he mentions like all the sperm that could have fertilized his egg, out of everything, like you chose, like you were the one who did it, out of this horrible thing that started this way, then moved to love, and then now moved to you being created. He's like, then he's back, like he's almost then he's
Mhm.
back into like what's really happening. And I don't think it's just because he can't see past this moment. I think it's literally like she brings
Mhm.
him back to that moment, and he's done. He's like, "Oh, wait, whoa, okay, I'm back." Okay, she is like a weird tether to him, even though they are not good for each other. They are horrible for each other. Dan and her
Yeah.
do work a little better, but there's problems
I
there.
still don't like it.
No, there's still no one. Everyone
I
should be single and get their shit together. That's
Uh-huh.
what they should be.
Everybody needs therapy. All
Yeah,
of these characters X therapy is my ship for the week.
yeah,
I really did like her and Dan together until they started getting hot and heavy with it. And I was like, this could have been a beautiful friendship. And I get the whole like rebounding, like this
oh yeah,
emotionally distant man that's you've been dedicating your entire life to for like a decade or whatever.
hmm
I get it. I understand it logically, like story beats, why that connects with people emotionally. I get it. However,
hmm
I really would have liked them to just, you know, do the we're rediscovering our love for,
superheroes. Yeah,
vigilanteism
yeah,
and being a superhero and rediscovering what it means to be a hero in this time where, being in a mask is criminalized. And like that was like the only compelling storyline out of this
Yeah.
entire moment for me, because it was like, what does it mean to be a successor? These are two successors. What does that mean for them? What does it mean to be a hero? How do they approach being a hero? And we get a badass action sequence out
Yeah, oh
of
my god.
it.
Not only that, it especially God, if you're watching the like the animated version does a great job. And again, one of the few things I always give Zack Snyder is that he does action very well. That scene in live
Mhm,
action is also well done. So like we get like one for one. I'm like, hey, you guys did good both in both versions. Like they're great.
mhm,
Um, I want to specifically talking about the adaptation. Did
mhm,
anything again? I was worried about that whole John thinking about time at the whole time. Like witnessing time
mhm.
all at once. But they really nailed it. Is there anything that you felt didn't work, or anything you were worried about?
I was really worried that they were going to try to sanitize or justify
Mm,
some of the darker sexual elements
mm,
of the story. And they do not justify it. They do not try to pretend that this is anything other than morally reprehensible. Um, and they don't try to shy away from it, which, 2024 would have been a very easy choice.
yeah,
You would have had very few people, the very passionate uh basement dwellers
yeah, yeah.
would have been upset about it, but not many other people would have been. But the fact that they're saying, no, this is integral to the story we're trying to tell here, and it's not a story of good people, and it is not a
Hmm.
story of goodness and hope, but this is how we are choosing to shape this story.
Yeah,
I kind of have to respect. I don't love it. Again, not my cup of tea,
yeah, yeah.
but if you are grappling with these complex issues, step number one is to not act like you think that they are taboo or you think they are something that's forgivable. I think
Mhm,
very clearly stating the purpose and intention of how you're using that kind of violence, and very clearly, I think this is a great example of, sorry, I'm going on a tangent.
no,
Something I always talk about when tackling complex issues within storytelling is, how do you craft a story that serves the demographic you are trying to represent?
mhm,
Can
mhm,
somebody who has experienced this type of violence experience the story without being horribly triggered or feel absolutely horrible about the portrayal on screen? And some people aren't going to want to engage with that material. That's
yeah,
fine. Some people are going to want to engage with that in a fictional setting to process. And I think
mhm,
that is so important. Like, you can make it scary, you can make it, uncomfortable, but are you actively traumatizing the people you are trying to represent without any sort of hopeful outcome? Is something to be mindful when you are telling stories that deal in the grim, dark, complex, emotional space. And again, I can't really speak to how well that is done here, but it didn't make me fear for those who would watch it. And it's some things I watch and I go, ooh,
yeah,
nobody should ever be portrayed in that light.
mm,
Nobody should ever have to witness that sort of characterization about a trauma. And this didn't trigger that
yeah.
reaction in me. So,
I think.
I mean, again, it is triggering.
Mhm,
Don't get me wrong. But if that's something that you're in a place to engage with, I think it's handled pretty.
yeah. I think one of the interesting things was specifically talking about that moment and like how its impact throughout the story. One of the interesting things this adaptation does that I really feel like that neither the Zack Snyder version or the book itself did like an amazing job with it, but like you have to think about like what was going on at the time, right? When Dave Gibbons is drawing, Alan Moore's work, and there's that moment where we see, Blake the comedian see Lori for the first time and kind of talk to her for the first time. He grabs her face. He's like, "Oh my god,
Mhm,
you have the same face as your mother, except for your hair is different."
mhm.
Obviously giving us early clues at this
Yeah.
moment for this reveal. He's like, "You have a mole
Mhm.
just like your mom," and we're made to believe that, oh my god, he's gonna hit on her.
Right.
And Sally does the same thing. She jumps in and yells at him. This is the first time, and again, I can't speak. I'm not saying anything. I'm actually not even knocking Zack Snyder in this moment because even the book, I feel the multiple times I read it, it has been a few years. I will preface that, but something about this adaptation when Sally jumps down Blake's throat
Mhm,
and was like, "Get away from her! Don't do this!" Don't. He is scared and
mhm.
hurt, and
Yeah.
it does not excuse his actions at all. I'm not even giving him an out for what he
Correct.
did.
Yeah,
And even
but
so, I
he
think for himself, he
shows
doesn't either.
surprise that anybody would view him
Yeah,
as acting that way towards somebody he knows to be
his daughter.
biologically
Yeah, and
related to
then
him. Yeah.
and even so, then when later on, when they're having the retirement party for Hollis, right? And
Mhm,
and and they're doing all this stuff, and he goes out to grab a drink, and Lori tells me, "I'm 7 scotches deep, so I'm gonna confront him about what
mhm,
he did to my mother," because she at this point knows that he's you know
mhm,
a satyr and that all this stuff happened. And so she confronts him all this stuff, and he's like, da da da, you did this to her, and his voice breaks,
mhm,
his eye, and like it's the art and everything in this adaptation. His art is like he's like he's sad. It's the first time you ever see like an emotion other than just being a giant piece of shit from the comedian,
mhm.
and
Yeah.
he's like, it was only one, and he even then
Yeah,
he's not even
and
giving himself
in
an out.
his mind yeah,
Yeah,
like, he's like, "We had a consensual relationship after,
after that,
so,
yeah.
like, it's fine, like, she's fine, obviously, it
Yeah.
didn't affect
And
her that much."
he's hurt.
Be
It's like the only time we've ever seen him
Right, he's
hurt.
hurt that, like, she could think that poorly of him,
Yeah,
when he was like, "I didn't do anything
yeah.
wrong, why do you
I've
think
done
I
a
did
lot
something
of
wrong?"
wrong. Like he even tells uh, Malak
Yeah,
earlier, like later when he's like confessing everything he's seen on the island and
yeah,
kind of like the big plan and everything of it. He's confessing like I've done a lot of horrible shit. Like, but this is nothing compared to what I've done. And he's
uh-huh,
sadly right. But it is weird though
yeah,
that this is the first time one of any of the adaptations. I would like to reread the book now with the context that we have here, but acting wise, and from Weissman, and art wise, that we see any other emotion from the comedian. Like he seems
mhm,
to generally at that moment feel sorry for what he did
mhm.
all those years ago, and
Yeah, I
he's
don't know if
hurt.
he feels sorry for what he did. I think he feels sorry that that's her perception of him.
Yeah, I mean that's also an interesting way to think about it. Yeah, but this is the first time I've ever seen any other emotion. And again,
Right. Yeah.
I don't condone what he did. I don't think he's a good person. I think he should
Mhm,
burn in hell for what he did
mhm.
character wise. And he dies
Right, yeah,
very very great for what he did in his life.
and we all
But
cheer about it.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's the first time when I was like, oh shit, I see you're doing something to me different in an
Right.
adaptation that I've
Yeah.
not seen, and I was like, that's
You are tackling
interesting.
and you are unlocking a single emotion for this man.
Yeah, other than I shoot people because I hate people. Um,
Uh-huh.
the other thing that I didn't think was gonna work, and at first, again, similar to the Dr. Manhattan scene, the pirate, the Tales of the Black Freighter thing,
Mm,
I didn't
mhm.
think that was gonna work.
Yeah,
And then it wasn't
that
until
was
like the
cool.
second or third like segment as what was his name? Bernard, right? Or Bernie, was
Something
reading the
like that,
story.
yeah.
Yeah, because they shared him and the newspaper guy share the same name, which is a very cute moment before they die.
Yeah.
Um, he's reading it, and it wasn't until the second or third one where, to me, I've really felt like he was singing with the story. Because when you're reading the book, obviously it's a little
Mhm.
easier to comprehend. At the end of the issue, you'll get a summary of
Right.
this, story in the world of Watchmen. Because they're superheroes, there's no superhero comic books. They're like, no, this is
Mhm.
boring. It's stupid. Why do we have superhero comic books? So they have pirate books. Those pulpy retro books stay throughout comic books for the, since their reception till now. So
Mhm.
they're super popular. Kids reading the Tales of the Black Freighter, and all the story is really coinciding with thematically what's happening in the story. And as it goes on, like, it really does build up to that very last thing where you find out that Adrian did what he did, and this guy does what he does to his family, unfortunately, and then joins the black. Like, he then, because of his action, is like a horrible person, and has to go away. It's like, wow, I see what you did here. I didn't think it was gonna work because it's
Mhm.
jarring, especially how they did it in
Yeah.
here too. Like, it's very you go from one scene to another, and next thing you know, you hear the beautiful voice of Phil Lamar being like, "And then I went down there." I was like, "Whoa,
Gorgeous performance.
yeah, he
Yeah.
did
I
great."
thought the way they blended that was really cool because you also get the framing of the kid reading the comic book
Hmm.
on the street, and then also getting the gorgeous stylizations of the like narrative text in the
Yeah, they
style
did.
of the
They
text
did a
boxes from
really,
a
really
comic.
good job with that.
Mhm.
Um, let's talk about something funny.
Okay.
And then one of a crazy thing that is one of my favorite things.
Okay.
Again, as I mentioned. So for my funny section, I put here, put some goddamn pants on. It's still
Uh-huh.
they hid that thing for a lot of both movies, and I
Yeah.
appreciate
Uh-huh.
Warner Brothers Animation
There
for
were
doing
so
that.
many schlong opportunities, and we didn't
Man,
get a single one.
I
That's
will say
fine.
shout out
I'm
to
fine
Zack
with that.
Snyder. Zack Snyder was showing that thing all. I'm okay with it in live action because you know what? How many live action movies do we see titties and all this other stuff in? I
Uh-huh.
get it.
Yeah.
I listen. I love titties. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong. Just like the
Uh-huh.
next person,
Yeah. But
but
tits out constantly.
not enough dick. There's no
Yeah.
dick to tits
Uh-huh.
ratio. We know we need to even that
Yeah.
more. And because of Doctor Manhattan, we get a lot of that in the live action.
Yeah.
This I felt like there was like a strategic chair like everywhere, and
Uh-huh.
then it was like, all right, we
Yeah.
can't hide it. We gotta show it. But
Put some goddamn heads on.
man,
Yeah.
when I'm having a mental breakdown, like Lori is on
Mhm.
another planet, mind you,
Mhm.
about this person who essayed her mom and turns out to be her
Uh-huh.
dad, I need you to put some fucking
Uh-huh.
pants on. I need you to put
Yeah.
some fucking pants on. I don't need that
Uh-huh.
thing.
We're trying to have a serious moment,
Yeah, I
and
don't need that
serious
thing in my face.
moments require
Pants.
dicks to not be
Yeah,
out. Yeah.
yeah. And they know each other intimately. I get that, but still,
Uh-huh.
this is, and he's not
So,
human. He's no longer human.
uh-huh.
I need you to put some fucking pants on, man. I was,
Yeah.
and then
Can
his
you
fight.
imagine having a deep, serious, emotional conversation with your wife? Just no pants.
Yeah, it
Just
makes me think of
standing in the
Forget Sarah
kitchen.
Marshall. Yeah, that's all I think about. Um, and the other thing too, for Rorschach, if you're gonna
Mhm.
kill me, I need you to put some fucking pants on,
Mhm.
man. I don't want my last
Yeah.
image to be some like blue godlike dick and balls in my face as I'm being
Uh-huh.
obliterated at a molecular level. Like, I can't.
Listen, some people are into the blue dick and balls.
I get it. Listen, I
Uh-huh.
get it, but it's just this. There's just certain moments that I'm like, I get it, man. You're not human. I need you to
Mhm.
put some pants on.
Yeah.
And that's, I felt like that reading the book. This is the only time I get to
Yeah.
talk about it, so I'm gonna talk about it here.
Yeah. Put
Yeah, you gotta put some pants on. That's just without a doubt. Oh, I lost you. Oh no. All right, sorry for those little technical difficulties right there, but we're back with our episode as we keep going through Watchmen chapters 1 and 2. So like earlier I alluded to one of my favorite scenes, and we were about to talk about it, but we had more technical difficulties because the universe hates us. Similar to the universe, it's like the Watchmen universe is coming true.
Mhm.
Um,
Correct.
One of my favorite things in all of comic books, I alluded to earlier,
Mhm.
is the scene that we get at the end with Adrian, where he reveals his master
Yeah.
villainous plan.
Mhm.
And you
We
do,
get the villain monologue.
yeah, and subverts expectations because you assume, like most comic books or any piece of media, whether it be James Bond or some shit like that, that he's
Mhm.
going to tell you all his things that are about to happen, and then he's going to save the day. There is no saving the
Mhm.
day. And
Yeah.
Adrian literally looks at us, the reader, or in this version, to Rorschach and
Mhm.
Dan, and says, "Do you take me for some comic book villain? I did it 35 minutes ago." And it is one
Right.
of the coolest things I've ever read in my life. Every time, I said this earlier, every time that this is been adapted, it always hits for me. Whether it's the book
Mhm.
the first time, the Zack Snyder movie, and now this version with Troy Baker's performance, this scene specific always hits. How do you feel about Adrian's reveal?
I mean, it's good. It's solid. I don't know if it has the same impact now that it did originally,
Yeah,
because we've seen so many stories that subvert that expectation
yeah,
since then, that it's not like a lot of people were watching this new Watchmen 2024 chapters 1 and 2. If you don't know the story and the context, that's not going to have the same "oh shit" moment. I think it's still incredible. It's a great moment regardless,
mm,
but I don't know if that hits the same for people who don't have that memory of the original story. However, I do think it's brilliant, and because we've spent the entire time talking about how these horrible, awful people are the heroes and
mhm,
what it means to be heroes. And then we get this moment where they will be heroic and save the day. And the antagonist says, no, like, I'm
mm,
smarter than that. I know better than that. You think I would tell you what I was doing if it wasn't already unstoppable? Of course not. And to be somebody who has been around the heroes, who understands them, who gets how they work, that is what makes a compelling antagonist, is this deep understanding between the two characters and this irreconcilable difference between them. And I think this is a great example of that.
yeah. I think
And just like overall, just so good.
I agree, and it's funny. Like, I'm thinking of like all the piece of media that I've ever watched, growing up, whether it be a cartoon, whether it be, again, I mentioned James Bond is like very like this is
Yeah.
like a almost beat for beat for like something, Blofeld would do against James Bond or something like that, for our old heads out there. I'm looking at you, Joe Mertens. You and me, buddy. But something like that, when you have the villain just monologue, 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 and then the hero wins. I can't think of it. This has to be the first moment, right? Again, I've seen movies from like the 60s or
Mhm.
70s. We've read pieces of media beforehand and stuff. This has to be the first moment. This is 1987. We're talking literally 38 years
Yeah.
ago today, like this year, this month,
Mhm.
October is when the last issue
Yeah.
came out. So 38 years ago, this drops. I, no one's ever thought of that. No, I can't.
Mhm.
Unless it's been done before, and please, if it has been, I would love to know. I want to read that or watch that or whatever, where it's
Yeah.
done. But like,
And
from
I
my
mean,
knowledge, it hasn't been
we're
done.
all telling the same 12 stories over and over again. And there
Yeah,
are stories in antiquity of, the villain conquering, of
yeah,
the heroes failing. Like the heroes fall is a classic trope, but this is the first time, especially in comic book media, in this idea of heroes and villains, this idea of the good guy has to win, that we see that subversion. And for this to be like the seminal moment in the history of comic books, where this is the first time we actually see that done on page, I think that's important to recognize, that that is a huge moment.
yeah. These heroes finally come back together for the first time, feel like their true selves finally again. Especially for someone like Dan, who really needs to beat Night Owl to like function as a human. As we see,
Mhm.
he has some difficulties with some human things that he does. But they have this what you think is going to be triumphant moment, and they lose. But in their defeat, the Earth is spared this like
Right.
pending World War III, and it's like at what cost, you know? And
Mhm.
it's that question,
At what cost, indeed.
that millions of people have died, to get the world where Adrian thinks like, and they show it like there's an immediate response from Russia immediately backs away, which again, with the knowledge that you have that this is an alternate 1985, still that's insane to think about, right? This is the thing.
Right.
It's insane to think about today that Russia would just be like, hey, yo, I'm sorry, guys, y'all good? You guys good?
Russia would never, but
Yeah.
we love that in our fiction.
Can we open up burger joints in New York to make good? I love that line when the kid comes in and he's like, "No, you can't eat that fucking commie shit." I can't even say that anymore. Like the guy's all pissed.
I
But
love borscht.
oh my god, that was so funny. But like it's so crazy that they lose, and for them to lose is it's the only way in this world, specifically this universe, what we're experiencing, that the world makes it. And John says it to Adrian, or maybe to Dan. I think he's like, yeah, he's right. Adrian's right. Like any other outcome, like if anyone says anything, it's immediate like destruction of the earth. Like it will take no time for World War III to start and end right away. And so
Right.
it's on such a tiny minuscule like will it not kind of deal.
And
Now,
for a story
yeah,
that's been operating on the cosmic scale for most of the story, we
yeah.
are operating on this higher plane of reality impacting the scope of the story. For the keystone moment to be so minuscule, to be so grounded and innocent, like offhandedly making a comment, will
Mhm.
cause the end of the world.
Yeah.
That I think is really interesting because the story has issue by issue, you know, chunk of movie, act by act. They have set it up to be such a large scale story to then reel that back in to the reality of what does it mean to have to live in this world after what he did.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then I this is the also moment that I just mentioned earlier. God, my cat is so meowy at the end of the night. The son I wanted to mention earlier as like a little funny. I kind of mentioned it earlier when we were talking about HBO's Watchmen as well. But um, at the end, after everything, there's a little end credit scene in the movie, and then when you're reading the book, there's a couple like ending pages where you see the journal that Rorschach left in the mailbox, sent to the New Frontiersman, which is like a very right wing, pro America nationalist newspaper, which that in itself has its own problems. But
Yeah.
he sends his journal with everything he's written up to that point, even with the reveal that Adrian has done something, changed the
Mhm.
world to a certain
Yeah.
degree. They don't know to what end, right? They don't know that he's involved in some way, shape, or form. And of course, this is Rorschach, take his words with a grain of salt because he's an unreliable narrator, like Adrian mentions.
Mhm.
Now, this plot deviates in two different ways where it's left open for the reader. And again, in a perfect world, it never gets touched again. It's a beautiful, contained story. Some people like it, some like it myself, some people don't, like you, which again, both correct options because again, very
Right.
grim dark story. But as opposed to like Grimdark, where it's like edgy, this is like Grimdark and like, oh man, this is rough. I just need something to cleanse my palate after this. This is where you read
Mhm.
an All-Star Superman after, so you're like, oh, I feel better about the world. What a
Mhm.
I needed happiness. But
Yeah. I needed an ounce of hope.
yeah, just a little bit, at the end. So this subplot gets picked up in two different ways. HBO's Watchmen series by Damon Lindelof, um, and never gets revealed. Nothing happens. The world continues on, and that story happens. And I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. In DC's Doomsday Clock. Do you know what
Okay.
Doomsday Clock is?
It's one of their, like,
Giant events, right?
big event
Yeah.
moment things. Yeah,
It
yeah.
is not only a DC big event, it is also a
Uh-huh.
sequel to Watchmen. Because you
Okay.
see in the world of Watchmen, we revisit
Uh-huh.
the world. There's a new Rorschach, even though he died.
Mhm.
And he is played
Okay.
by the psychiatrist's son, psychiatrist that was taking care of Rorschach.
Okay.
Son finds a journal, goes
Interesting.
crazy. His dad already died.
Right.
Also, he's kind of messed up because I think he was close to the impact zone from the squid, so his
Mhm.
mind's all
Right.
jumbled.
Yeah.
The New Frontiersman has published his thing. The world is in utter chaos. There's a bunch of shit going on. Somehow Joker's in their world. It's a timey-wimey crazy thing. You find out, Sly, that at the end of Watchmen, Dr. Manhattan says, maybe I'll create something of my own.
Right.
Would you believe me when I tell you that Dr. Manhattan is the reason why we have the New 52? Sly?
That motherfucker. That motherfucker.
Yeah, he was
What?
fucking with time.
First of all, why?
Yeah.
Second of all, who made that choice?
Jeff
Third
Johns.
of all, did we have to?
No. No.
Of course not.
There is you know, again, we've talked about recent Jeff Johns, very controversial figure, whether it be comic books or real life because of his issue with Ray Fisher and all this other stuff, right? And him not backing all this other stuff. A lot of weird undertones. Just, there's a lot there. And his more recent comic runs not amazing like he used to be. Like we talked about last week with Logan. Teen Titans run, great. His Flash run, great. Aquaman, great. There's a bunch of great stuff. So he is the mastermind. Yeah. He is the mastermind behind Doomsday Clock, right? And yeah, it was his thought. You do get a fight between.
I didn't realize that Doomsday Clock was the one that led directly into New 52. That's absurd.
No, but you find out it's after Rebirth and everything. You find out that because of Dr. Manhattan meddling, he found the DC universe and then he alters it to essentially like, well, what if Superman is not that important? He finds out that Superman is like the linchpin of the universe. But without Superman, like the world goes to shit. So he's constantly fucking with it's their way to kind of comprehend all the weird story choices that happen in the New 52, where we have a Superman, then he dies, and then another Superman comes because Dr. Manhattan is like, no, he is important, and all this other stuff. So all this weird, crazy shit. Did we get introduced to villains that we never heard of before, or maybe they're mentioned in Watchmen as like
the Roy One-Armed clone is all because of that motherfucker.
Yeah. So it's just so much weird shit, and I would. Part of me kind of wants to read the book again because I remember what's happening monthly, and I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" But at the end of it,
fuck are you doing?
Yeah, Dr. Manhattan finds out, Superman is important, restores the timeline, kind of fixes whatever little shit. Like I think Wally, he's also the reason why Wally did, what he did at Sanctuary and stuff like that. He fixes that. He gives him back his family fully, no issue. Yeah, he sets everything right at the end, and then
sure, whatever.
He gives Dan and Lori a child at the end. He drops them off. His name is Clark.
What a child?
They did mention. I think he not only is Dan impotent, he's also infertile, I believe.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
But they drop off a Clark.
Is how do they fix the relationship? Add a child.
Oh,
obviously. Yeah. That's how to solve your issue.
But Dr. Manhattan drops a kid with the little symbol at their doorstep, and his name's Clark. He's a little blue-eyed, dark-haired boy. And it's left open. And then Dr. Manhattan waxes like, oh my God, in like 20 years, like he basically talks about the reboots are always going to happen, right? In DC. So like in 20 years, this is going to happen. Superman. And they show like different art, like Superman will look like this and the future heroes will look like this. And it's like 30 years from now, Superman does this. And it's like 40 years from now, Superman does this. So it's like they kind of play with that at the end. I think if they went the way it was supposed to, I think it was supposed to lead into this 5G thing we talked about with Logan 2 weeks ago, where like, hey, the heroes, they're going to be legacy heroes. Jace is going to be the Batman. John is going to be the Superman. Yara is going to be the Wonder Woman. Kind of the stuff they were alluding to. Be like, that's going to be set in stone. Like these other heroes are going to be older. It's just nothing planned out the way it did, and which is probably for the better. I like kind of where we're at right now in DC continuity. But yeah, that's like a whole nother thing. I would, you know what we should do? I'll put this on the ether. For a bonus episode down the line, we'll read Doomsday Clock, and then we'll get Logan back on, and all three of us discuss that. We'll do that. Or Case has that there's that show, Trade School. I can talk about.
Uh-huh.
I can talk about
Mm-hmm.
that.
Maybe you're there.
Yeah. So I wanted to mention that because it's batshit insane that happens. Before
Yeah.
moving on to our one piece of drama class, I had to pick something, and it's just perfect for me. Anything you want to shout out specifically, or
Yeah. My final thoughts on this movie.
Yeah.
Why watch Watchmen when you can just watch Incredibles?
Yeah, fair. Yeah, that's what you should do. If you really really want to watch Watchmen, again, I'm not going to tell you no. I think I think this film is really good adaptation. I think you should read the book first at least, and similar to maybe next week's episode, read the book first and then watch the film. But yeah, do something afterwards that like brings some joy. You know,
Yeah.
even if you feel somehow or like I'm okay at the end, like just still watch that and happy. Watch an episode of Pokemon. Watch Incredibles. Watch All-Star Superman. You watch our next episode. Watch
I
that
was
movie.
just like, I was blown away by like how almost beat for beat structurally the story was. And I get it. The Incredibles
Yeah.
was purposefully like copying the comic book story timeline.
Yeah.
But
The
just the entire
McCarthyism, like
time,
yeah.
yeah, 100%. I was like, wow.
We don't talk about that
Is
part of history
The
that
Incredibles
enough in
we don't
2025 because
Listen,
that is
I don't
constantly
wanna talk about
yeah.
McCarthyism, but we probably should. God damn it.
Yeah, at some point.
Yeah, no, just, like, the entire time I was watching these 2 movies, I was like, "Wow, The Incredibles kinda ripped off Watchmen."
It's like, do you like
In a good
Fantastic Four
way,
or
in a good
Watchmen?
way.
Watch Incredibles.
Mhm. Yeah.
All
Or
right. So
watch First Steps. That was fun.
first episode's fun. Yeah. We're not a Marvel podcast,
Very
but yeah,
good.
first episode's good.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to shout out before drama class is Lori says she had 7 scotches and an 8th that she
Mhm,
throws in the comedian. And to that I say,
mhm,
God damn, that's a lot of
mhm.
scotch.
That's a lot of
I've had
scotch.
like 2 and I'm like, I'm done. And not in like I'm gonna pass out. I'm like, I'm good. Like
Mhm.
no more
Yeah.
anything. Maybe a
Uh-huh.
burger. Like I need
Yeah.
food. She said
And
that. I
that
was
is
like,
a skinny woman.
yeah, she is. Like she could
There's
barely
not a lot of places to put all of that
no.
alcohol.
No, and
Like,
you know it's
what
high
is
end
your blood
too.
alcohol content?
It's
Oh, yeah,
high end,
it's
yeah.
the good stuff.
Well, listen, she might actually have a high content for high tolerance because her mom's a
Mhm.
serial drunk. After what
Yeah,
happened, like she is just drinking every
yeah,
time we see her, she's drunk.
valid.
Um, all right, yeah, that was the thing I threw. I was like, God damn, like, I don't remember reading that. Jesus Christ! Now it's like in the hindsight of like being an adult and having scotch, I'm like, God
Yeah,
damn.
yeah.
All right, so we're
That's
moving
a
on
lot
to
of
drama
scotch.
class.
Mhm.
Holdover from MC University. I put the one scene on there. Do you
Mhm.
want to be Rorschach?
Sure. Uh,
This is specifically from the comics, since this is one for
my
one. It's just
enemy.
some. I know.
Yeah, that's valid. You know we can't let you do that.
Do what, Rorschach? I'm not a comic book villain. Do you seriously think I would explain my masterstroke to you as if there was even a slightest possibility that you can affect the outcome? I triggered it 35 minutes ago.
35 minutes ago. That's such a
Insane.
precise unit of measurement.
Right? Well, yeah, why not 30? Like, why 35? That's
Uh-huh.
wild.
35 on the dot. Love that.
Right. We kind of went over our final thoughts, but so would
Mhm.
you, as not a fan of the book, would you recommend this? And if not, is there a, not that I'm pushing you to do it, but like if there is there a way
Mhm.
you would recommend this?
I think in
Like
general, I
caveats or
would not
anything? Yeah.
recommend this story.
Hmm.
I would say read a summary, see if you vibe with this. It's a highly stylized, self-contained story. So it is very easily approachable if that's something you're into. I feel like the people who would like the things I like would not like this story. I feel like this is a very um while it is so approachable, it is very niche in what type of audience would enjoy this kind of book. And I think if you would enjoy the book, if you would enjoy the story, you would enjoy these two movies. I think they are solid. I think they're good adaptations. I think they're structurally well done. I like the stylized art of it all. I think it looks very good. I would say this is a good to great movie, both of them. I just can't stand the source material.
Mhm.
So, like I said, if you think you would like the story in general, you would probably really like these movies. Again, they are good. Just because I personally can't stand
Yeah.
them doesn't mean they're bad by any means.
Yeah, no, 100%. For me, I would recommend it, but given the caveat that like you have to be into something like this, right? Like you have to prepare
Mhm.
yourself because I mean, it wasn't like a bad thing. Like I wasn't mentally prepared to like read Watchmen, but again, we talked about that like that mental capacity you have as a teenager versus
Uh-huh.
how you do as an adult. And every time I reread the book, I find more things. I do find things to enjoy, but there's a reason I haven't read it in a couple years, right? The world has
Right.
been pretty bad enough as it is. And it to me, I can't find a hopeful moment, even though we mentioned, what Adrian does at the end of the film and source material of the book. Um, is the only way that Earth survives. And even though it survives, at what cost? Like we, the reader, and the person witnessing the story know that millions of people died, and he just compromised
Mhm.
even some people who you would think are not can be compromised, like Dan. And Lori too, to a certain extent. Like she's not a person who
Mhm.
would be compromised, and yet they cannot see a way out of this. And then this
Mhm.
godlike figure that they interact with looks and is like, no, there's no way out of this. Like
Right.
we have to be quiet about this, or like the world will die. All of us will die in a blink of an eye. The only way this works is that this happens. And the only other way it works, we didn't even talk about this because we're not like fans of the character, but Rorschach has to die. And he
Right.
dies and he knows it.
Mhm.
He's like, I'm gonna go. Either you stop me or I'm telling everyone because
Mhm.
there is a weird moral compass. Again, a broken clock is right twice a day. So even though he's very like right leaning and all this other stuff, even at that moment, he's like, the truth is the truth and it needs to be out. And
Mhm.
there's a respect there, and he's like, do it. And even John hesitates. This
Yeah.
godlike being hesitates at that last moment. He's like, do it. He has to scream at him, like, do it. And then he blows him up. But I again, this is a grimdark story, and not in the sense that like we joke around like with when we talk about video games, like
Mhm.
grimdark video games. This isn't like edge lord
Yeah.
things like that. Like this is a very sophisticated tale. There's a lot of nuance in there. It's something that again, the more I read it, the more I find. When you're reading this pirate story at the end of issues, or if you're watching
Mhm.
here, like it feels off, but it's not really. It fits so well into what you were reading thematically. It's
Mhm.
impressive, but again, if you are not in the mood for a grimdark story and you need some levity in this world and age, I get it. Even if you watch it and you come out at the end like Sly does, like I don't like it. Still, I get it. I don't think
Yeah.
there's honestly like a wrong answer other than be like Rorschach wasn't wrong. Like, all right, hold on, pause.
Yeah.
There's a lot
Yeah.
wrong with that guy.
And I think that even my perception would be slightly less harsh if so part 2 came out, August 13th of 2024.
Mm,
You know how much hope we had in August of 2024?
yeah, look back at those episodes.
There was some hope in
Yeah.
there, and if things the following months had turned out differently, I think there would be more tolerance in myself for this
Mhm.
type of story, and I simply do not have the capacity for that.
Yeah.
Maybe in a couple years, things will get better. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll keep getting worse.
Mhm.
And we just gotta roll with the punches. But until then, if you are the kind of person who wants to process some big feelings about the grim, dark nature of everything going around us, right now. I think this is a very sophisticated piece of media to let you experience those feelings. And if you're not in a place to do any of that, you can pass. That's
Yeah.
fine. We're not judging you. Carlos isn't judging me for being like, I hate this goddamn book. And he's
No.
like, I love this book. It's great.
No, absolutely. This is, again, you mentioned at the top of the show, like, this is capital A art, right? And this is
Yeah.
what capital A art does. It's a discussion piece. Like, it is highly
And we
political.
can
Art is,
have
yeah, you know.
this kind of criticism,
Yeah.
capital C criticism about capital A art. And it can, we can all get something meaningful out of that.
Yeah. Truly, truly, truly. Now, again, if you watch this whole episode, didn't watch the movie, but you still want to, I will highly recommend that you watch these two movies and then watch your homework for next week, which is All-Star Superman. We have a special guest for that, returning Mario Rivera. But yeah, I would highly recommend you watch all three. Then just so you get a little levity at the very end,
A little bit of,
little
peace going
Superman
on with you
helps
there.
a long way, trust me.
Uh-huh.
But before we sign off, Sly, where can people find you?
You can find me. I don't know if you can actually find me on this platform. I did finally get a DC Ultimate. There's like 3 more words after that. The comic subscription.
Yes.
So I will be reading a lot of current things, which I haven't done in a hot minute. I have not been up to date in years. So my TBR is like 40 series long right now. But if there is anything that you feel very strongly I need to read, I need to add to that list, let me know. I'll add it. It might take me a couple months, but I'll
But
get
it'll
to it.
happen.
But yeah, that's the one thing I want to plug. Of course, I'm on Storygraph if you want to see my non-comic book reading. Sometimes my comic book reading makes it on there. And then I'll figure out if the DC Ultimate Universe, blah blah blah,
Yeah.
is shareable, and if so, you can find me there.
Yeah, there we go. For me, you can find me here, youtube.com/point in progress, where we have this show, DC Graduates, as I mentioned every episode. If you're watching us, thank you so much for tuning in and watching all the weeks before prior and stuff like that. We're in the wild, wild west of season 5, which is just a kitchen sink, as I like to call it. But if you're watching, go to your favorite podcast platform of choice. Like, share, subscribe. If you're listening, come on over to youtube.com/point in progress. Like, share, subscribe there. You can also find my video game playthrough series for the Remedyverse, where it's called It's Not a Loop. Season 1 is It's Not a Loop, It's a Spiral, where I play Alan Wake Remastered and Alan Wake American Nightmare. Season 2 is It's Not a Loop, It's Quantum Break, where I play Quantum Break in that. And then we are currently working on Season 3. It's Not a Loop, It's Control. It's my first time going through Control. Edited a couple videos so far. Gotta start posting them soon, but don't worry. It's like November might be the month where it might start happening, or at least more recording when my life slows down a little bit, which is gonna be nice. But yeah, you can find me over there, and then yeah, keep tuning every week. It's almost that time for Game of the Year, Game Awards time. Who knows what's gonna happen this year?
Have I played a single game this year?
Is your top 5 just 1,000 times resist? 5 times.
I've been meaning to replay it 1,000 times resist.
What's out on Xbox, I think, currently.
It might make my year twice in a row. We'll
Listen,
see.
we have no rules for year, right? So who cares?
0 rules.
Who cares at that point? But till next time, class is dismissed.